Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, we have a lot to cover on my daughter's 32nd birthday. Happy birthday, Erica. By the way, she's my liberal daughter, so she's probably not going to watch this show. New York Sunday Times. You can't make this up. Yesterday's Sunday New York Times front page and the entire section of the New York Times. You ready for this? Did not mention one thing about the border crisis. You believe that? The New York Times, the newspaper, did not place that, a story at all, on the front page or anywhere in the first 10 or 15 pages of its paper. In fact, I don't think there was a story in it at all. That just tells you where we are today in this country with the media. Chuck's border trip. I've got a list here because I asked Chuck to prepare it for me, and I want to make sure that I cover it all. Chuck went down to the border for us. He's posted the videos, and I told Chuck, I said, Chuck, give us what you learned by going to the border. And here's what he's telling me. Trump's policy was stay in Mexico. Anybody got caught, they were taken back immediately. Biden has claimed they were all going back. He says, Sheriff Hathaway of Santa Cruz says on video, the ones claiming asylum, which is all of them, are given a court date and released in the Nogales, Arizona community, not taken back to Mexico. Everybody who's coming claims they're seeking asylum, and that's what happens. So Joe Biden is lying to you. Fort Bliss, total media shutdown. Everybody's referred to a public affairs officers, which is a Bidenite. You get nowhere. In other words, Fort Bliss is like a big secret. What's going on down there? Hotel employees who have been ordered by their corporate management not to talk about their money getting from the government for the free lodging of the illegal immigrants. See how corporate hotels down there, they're like, oh, government's paying us to house these folks. It's going to get worse. Border Patrol morale all-time low. They're scared to death to talk for fear of being canned. He said this, the legal Latino immigrants are some of the nicest, hardworking, and most patriotic Americans in America. How you like that? The legal immigrants. The Latino parents are just sending their children to America so America can adopt and take care of them. They're using tunnels. And thanks to the Democratic gangster lawyers, the lawsuit stopped Trump's wall in some places, which has allowed him to go in. Biden said regarding the children, the Mexican authorities are not cooperating in taking them back. Well, look how Mexico, Trump talked tough to Mexico and it worked, didn't it? But I mean, Chuck went down there to report, we're getting it firsthand now. Our own guy going down there to the border. It's incredible. And then, of course, next on the list, Cruz and those senators go down there, and they're told to erase photographs, delete photographs. They hear the cartel mocking them across the Rio Grande River. I mean, what those 12 senators stood up and spoke about was incredible. And it's going on every single day. I mean, it is a disaster. And see, the whole game plan is just let them all pour into this freaking country. We'll register them later. 60% of Americans oppose Biden's handling of the border. Once again, my only reaction to that is, who the hell are the 40% that are saying it's okay how he's handling the border? Just think about the significance of that. Only 60% call this a problem? It's off the charts. Kamala Harris. She is staying in the BLAIR house, which is where presidential guests often stay, while the observatory, vice president's mansion, gets remodeled. And she's complaining. You believe it? Do you see what happens to these people? The BLAIR house isn't nice enough for Kamala Harris. Biden, he wants the Supreme Court, they're advocating this. He wants federal officials to be able to go into homes without search warrants and take your guns. Now, that's not constitutional. But just think about that. You have a president of the United States that is supporting feds going into your house and just seizing your guns. And they called Trump Hitler? Really? I mean, I want a Biden supporter in that chair. Maybe we'll find a Biden supporter who says, I'm sorry. We'll see where we go. Military. Biden's military, all focus on diversity training versus war preparation. How does that make sense? Do you really think the number one problem our military has is white supremacy in it? What a joke. Buttigieg, the big transportation secretary, the former mayor of Gary, Indiana. You know what? Taxes by the mile. He wants to tax drivers by the mile. I don't know how you would do that without some government. Come on, the government's going to have to monitor how far we drive, where we drive. What do you mean taxes by the mile? I mean, it's insanity. I mean, and just think what that does to the average American. I mean, it is a full-blown socialist, communist jailbreak going on in this country and our government. It's unbelievable. Who would ever thought this stuff would be going on in America? Joe Manchin. We all kind of have this love-hate relationship with Joe Manchin, don't we? Because he's a moderate Democrat. His wife just got a $160,000 federal job. Now we'll see what happens. I mean, God, you know what? What a bad look. What a bad look. What's expected in return? I don't know. Did you know, I didn't know this till I read it in the newspaper the weekend. I didn't realize it. 21 states either never had a mask mandate or have now lifted their mask mandate. 21 states. Of course, not on that list is Kentucky and Ohio. Indiana is lifted. And I'm just sitting there, just another example of the stupidity of all these rules is how can somebody, for example, in Alabama or a state that has no mask mandate, that, well, the COVID works differently in that state? Really? I mean, how do you explain that? How can you say in Kentucky and Ohio we have to have a mask mandate when 21 other states don't have a mask mandate? Explain that. Those citizens are more at risk? I don't think so. Fauci, this was big over the weekend. Fauci's claiming now on CBS Morning News, he's claiming that he was the one that launched the vaccine. Like he's the, and by the way, this is just coming out now. This egomaniac is off the charts and off the leash. I mean, do you believe that? For a whole year, it was Trump pushing Operation Warp Speed. Boom, boom, boom. Got to get the vaccine. Unleashing the government. Now Fauci claims it was him. Where did this come from? Out of the blue. It was one of the most important decisions I've ever had to make. I see Fauci's now at least doing interviews without his mask. Isn't that interesting after Rand Paul called him out? Vaccine passports. The government's headed this way, folks. Another check on you, vaccine passports. By the way, speaking of government check on, somebody told me that they got their government check deposited directly in their bank account, and they had never given the government their bank account information. That's kind of scary, isn't it? The government knew where he banked. He never told them. Amish herd immunity. The Amish, God love them, have now reached herd immunity. Do you think they got the vaccine? I don't think so. Proves the point again. What do you got to say about that, Fauci? Silicon leaders, 75 Silicon Valley leaders. This tells you the disconnect between corporate America and the people. 75 have signed a letter defending and opposing Governor Newsom's recall. Why? Why would they do that? The money that greases the wheels. That's why. Remember the rule. If something is irrational, it has some crookedness or money or ulterior motive tied into it. That's the only explanation. Lifeguards in L.A. Roger, we need to get to L.A., practice up on our swimming and get a job. L.A. lifeguards are being paid as much as $200,000 to $392,000.
Hey, I'm going to have someone else take over the rest of the show producing this. I'm out of here.
Don't blame you, Roger. Don't blame you at all. Do you believe that? For lifeguards. Well, what a well-run city. What a well-run city. By the way, I'm all for lifeguards making a good living, but are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? BESHEAR school choice. You know, he opposes school choice at every turn, yet sends his kid, including during the entire pandemic, to private school. Private school. What a phony-ass politician. What a phony-ass politician. This story has gotten some great attention across the country, as it should. Lil Nas X has released 666 pairs of what's called Satan shoes because they got a little blood in them. Are you kidding me? Nikes ran from it. And I go, oh, we ain't got nothing to do with this. We don't have nothing to do with it. But I'm telling you, how bizarre. And then he gets in a fight with Kristi Noem, South Dakota governor, who kind of said, man, this is pretty wrong. Satan shoes? We're going to put out Satan shoes? Is there going to be a boycott? Is there going to be a cancel culture of that? You watch. No cancel. Where's the black leadership on that issue? Nowhere to be found. Captain Underpants cartoon. I've only watched it once. You know what? Because there's an Asian kung fu character in it, Scholastics has taken it off their reading list. Captain Underpants gets canceled. Just add it to the list. NCAA men and women. I'm about ready to piss off all the women. Now remember, I had 2 daughters. I got granddaughters who play sports. Do you realize that the NCAA men tournament makes billions and the NCAA women lose millions? This whole Title IX thing, equal. Well, I don't understand it all completely because it's just the way it is. You can't force feed it. The men's basketball tournament is what we all care about and watch and get excited over. So why, it is what it is, quoting great Tracy Jones. And I don't understand why people get all worked up about it. You know what? College men's football. Sorry, women's lacrosse can't compete. Guess what? Men's lacrosse can't compete with it either. Bill Maher, the liberal Bill Maher, is at it again on the good side. He's questioning where's all the money coming from. Spend. I mean, he's like, whoa. I love it when a liberal sees some grace, sees some wisdom. Mitt Romney won profiles of courage. Now, when you look at Mitt Romney, all I see is country club. I don't see any courage at all. But because he voted against Trump, he gets a Profile of Courage Award. You realize that's what you get a Courage Award for a vote against Trump? Boy, the standard has gone way down. I'm going to nominate Roger for a Profile of Courage. Coke. Coke is facing a boycott from Georgia. The Georgia's all upset about it because of this Voting Rights Act. By the way, the Voting Rights Act in Georgia, the law that they passed, is just a voter ID law. And by the way, other states are going to copy it. But Coke's facing a boycott, and the Masters and the All-Star. Here we go. The Masters and the All-Star game. The All-Star, Major League Baseball says, well, they're open-minded to it. Well, you can't move the Masters. It's in Augusta. It's just, you know what? It's never going to stop until people like Major League Baseball, the Masters, and everybody in the world says, we've had enough. We've had enough. We've had enough of the bullshit. I don't understand why we're not there now. We should be there now. Very few people speak up about it. The Suez Canal. I got a buddy at the office who thinks that this is intentional. How did that ship get cockeyed in the canal? And they had to tow it. Boy, what a devastating economic calamity. It didn't even affect the stock market. Keeping the Suez Canal open. It's pretty important. Over 20 people have been shot and killed in Chicago. Where is the protesting? By the way, we say this over and over again every weekend about Chicago, and it just gets ignored. And by the way, do you know where these mass shootings are going? These black neighborhoods like in Chicago is a mass shooting every weekend. 2 or 3 people get shot and killed. And by the way, my good buddy, Randy McCaffrey, pointed out something about the Atlanta Asian massage parlor, spa, whatever. They're owned and run by Asians. That's why there were Asians there. The guy even admitted he was just having a bad day. Boom, he's going to shoot up. It wasn't an anti-Asian thing. Restorative justice. They're working on this in Philadelphia now for restorative justice. for all of those people that went out there and rioted and tore things down, you know, restorative justice. Are they calling January 6th restorative justice? Again, some more black privilege. Black privilege, now you get restorative justice. And by the way, I am going further and further down the road where I am going to start clashing, I think, with my black friends who support this crap. I mean, it's like, you know, some of them are like, you know, what's with you? I mean, how can you stand back and just, you know, you supported this, but oh, you don't support that? In other words, blacks are allowed to get out there and protest and burn stuff down, but a white guy, by God, you better not do that. You're a white supremacist if you support that. It's hypocrisy. It knows no bounds. There's a canine dog that was named Little Kim, and they had to change the name of the dog because they didn't want the dog biting black people, that it would be considered a racist dog. Named after a rapper. Said to change the name because they didn't want the rapper named dog biting a black person. My head sometimes wants to explode. The professor at Shawnee University, big legal battle. He refused to call a he/she that was in his class. He refused to call her by what she wanted to be called because it was a he, so he would call him he. He would use the wrong pronoun and not she, and he got canned over it, and he sued, and the Sixth Circuit has ruled that he's allowed to sue. First Amendment rights. Good for him. Isn't that great? All over a pronoun. He refused to call her she. He thought she was a he, because she was a he. Fort Pelosi, I just want to point this out. This was great. A congressman called what's going around the Capitol called Fort Pelosi. Isn't that great? It's no longer the Capitol, it's Fort Pelosi in my book. Baltimore, you know they got all these problems, so what's the solution to all their problems? Hey, let's just let prostitution and drug possession not go prosecuted. Yeah, that's the way to solve their crime problem. Possession of drugs, no problem. Prostitution, go at it, girls and guys. New York City ended qualified immunity for the police officers. Now, let me tell you, I've explained this before. The whole purpose of qualified immunity was to protect police from their mistakes, an honest mistake. We hold them liable when they do something intentional. It makes sense, folks. I've battled this over and over. Now, how that's interpreted is a bunch of BS sometimes. But to basically end quality, now here's what's wild about it. What the city of New York is doing is saying, you sue us and we're going to pay you more money. What city in America votes to increase their liability? City of New York, that's who. Think about that. The city of New York has voted to make it easier to sue them. Only in the Big Apple. Voluntary, now this is a legal opinion I oppose and I'm against. A court, I don't get this. A appeals court ruled that if you voluntarily get drunk, then the consent issue isn't an issue. You can be raped, and you can't argue I didn't consent if you voluntarily got drunk. How stupid is that? If you're incapacitated, intoxicated, you can't consent no matter how you got there, voluntary or involuntary. What a stupid ruling. USA Today did a story about Donald Trump's, the people January 6th donated to him, and it was like a few dollars here and there. They made this big story about, the January 6th people donated to Donald Trump. And on the Trump front, it still blows my mind, and I think we should all, every once in a while, just let this sink in, that a president of the United States, while president, and a former president of the United States, has been blocked and shut down on a social media platform. Think about that. We sit idly by and we're okay with that? That is scary stuff. Not just you and me, somebody who was as powerful as being the president of the United States. Twitter shut down. I know it's old news, but I think we forget about, holy cow, how wrong that is. Last but not least, the ENQUIRER did a story about the prom. I get so sick of how the liberal agenda creates the problem. The shutdowns, the lockdowns, all that stuff, all the misery they cause. And then they write feel-good stories when things start to change back. They got political Munchausen disease. They create the problems, then write feel-good stories about the problem when it starts to go away, I guess. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day.